Chapter 7, Part 2. Later that day, passing along a street in the strange and lonely town, he saw a man dump a box of trash into a barrel. He noticed that a large brown-backed book was in with the trash. He waited until the man went back into the building and then took the book from the barrel. It was a book of stories about what people think. There were titles such as Cruelty, Excellent Men, Education, Cripples, Justice, and many others. The boy sat down, leaned back against the barrel, and began to read the story called Cruelty. I have often heard it said that cowardice is the mother of cruelty, and I have found by experience that malicious and inhumane animosity and fierceness are usually accompanied by weakness. Wolves and filthy bears and all the baser beasts fall upon the dying. The boy was trying to read it aloud, for he could understand it better if he heard the words. But now he stopped. He didn't understand what it said. The words were too new and strange. He was sad. He thought books would have words like the ones he had learned to read in store signs, words like his mother used when she told him stories of the Lord and Joseph and David. All his life he had wanted a book, and now he had one in his hands, and it was only making his bruised fingers hurt more. He would carry it with him anyway. He passed a large brick schoolhouse with big windows and children climbing on ladders and swinging on swings. No one jeered at him or noticed him because he had crossed the street and was walking close up against the hedge on the other side. Soon the painted houses ran out and he was walking past unpainted cabins. He always felt better on his travels when he came to that part of town where the unpainted cabins were. Sometimes people came out on the porch when he passed and talked to him. Sometimes they gave him a piece to eat on the way. Now he thought he might laugh and say, "What you carrying, child, a book?" So he held it close up against him. "That's a school, too," the boy said to himself, as he stood facing a small, unpainted building with its door at the end instead of the side, the way cabins' doors were. Besides, he could always tell a school because it had more windows than a cabin. At the side of the building, two children were sloshing water out of a tin pail near the hand pump. One drew the dipper of the water on a dog that came from underneath to bark at the boy. The school was built on posts, and a stovepipe came through the wall and stuck up above the rafters. A rusty tin pipe ran from the corner of the roof down the cistern where the children were playing. The dog had gone back under the building, so the boy entered the yard and moved toward the children. One of them would work the pump handle, and he could wash the dried blood off his hand. Just when he reached the cistern, a wild commotion of barking burst from under the floor of the school. Half a dozen dogs, which followed children to school and waited patiently for lunchtime scraps and for school to be over, burst from under the building in pursuit of a pig that had wandered into the lot. In the wild chase around the building, the biggest dog struck the tin drain pipe, and it clattered down the wall and bounced onto the cement top of the cistern. With a pig under the building and the dogs barking and racing in and out, the school day ended. 24 or more children raced out of the door, a few of them touching the 3 steps that led from the stoop to the ground. Some were calling the names of the dogs and looking under the building. The boy found himself surrounded by strange, inquiring eyes. Questions came too fast to answer. "You new here? Where'd you move to? That your book? You coming here to school? Can you read that big book?" The boy had to put his bruised hand in his pocket so no one could see it. Some of the children carried books, too, but none were as big as the one he held close against his side. Just when the commotion was quieting down, a man appeared at the schoolhouse door. The children scattered across the lot in all 4 directions. "Tell your pa that he must keep his pig in bed," he called to one child. Then it was quiet, and the boy looked at the man in the doorway. They were alone now. The dogs had followed the children, and the pig, hearing the familiar call from the corner of the lot, had come grunting from his sanctuary and gone in the direction of the call. In his many journeying among strangers, the boy had learned to sniff out danger and spot orneriness quickly. Now, for the first time in his life, away from home, he wasn't feared. The lean, elderly man with snow-white hair, wearing Sunday clothes, came down the steps. "This pipe is always following," he said as he picked it up and put it back in place. "I need to wire it up." "I just wanted to wash my hand. It got dried blood on it where I hurt my fingers." "You should have run home. I don't live in these parts. Here, I'll hold your book, and I'll pump for you." And the mellow eyes of the man began to search the boy for answers. Answers that could be found without asking questions. "You need warm, soapy water," the teacher said. "I live right close. Wait till I get my papers and lock the door, and I'll take you home and fix it." The boy wanted to follow the man into the schoolhouse and see what it was like inside, but by the time he got to the steps, the man was back again, locking the door. "I usually put the school in order after the children leave," he said, "but I'll do it in the morning before they get here." At the edge of the school lot, the man took the road that led away from town. They walked without much talk. The boy began to wish the man would ask him a lot of questions. When they had passed several cabins, each farther from the other as they went, the man turned off the road and said, "We're home. I live here alone. I have lived here alone for a long time." Fingering the small wire hook on the neatly whitewashed gate which led to the yard that was green, the teacher stopped talking. A cabin with a gate and green grass in the yard was almost a big house, the boy thought as he followed the man. Inside the gate, the man went along the fence, studying some plants tied up to stakes. He began to talk again, not to the boy, but to the plant that was smaller than the others. "You'll make it, little one, but it'll take time to get your roots set again." The boy looked at the white-haired man, leaning over like he was listening for the plant to answer him. "He's conjured," the boy whispered to himself. "Lots of old folks is conjured or addled." He moved backward to the gate, thinking he'd better run away. "Conjured folks can conjure you," the boy's mother always said, "if you get yourself plain carried off by their soft spell talk." But before the boy could trouble his mind any more, the man straightened up and began talking to him. "Some animal dug under the roots and tore them loose from the earth. It was wilted badly and might have died, but I reset it, and I water it every day. It's hard to reset a plant if it's wilted too much. The life has gone out of it. But this one will be all right. I see new leaves starting." "What grows on it?" the boy asked, thinking it might be something good to eat if somebody cared that much about a plant. "It's only a flower," the man said. "I'll water it when the earth has cooled a little. If you water a plant when the earth is too warm, it shocks the roots." Inside the cabin, the man started a fire in the cook stove and heated water. As he washed the boy's hands with a soft white rag, he said, "You must have slammed these fingers in an awful heavy door or gate." But before the boy could answer, the teacher began to talk about the plant he must remember to water. He don't want to know nothing about me," the boy thought. "When I saw your book, I thought you were coming to enroll for school. But you don't live in these parts, you say. I found the book in a trash barrel. It has words like I ain't used and reading, and I could read store sign words and some newspaper words." "This is a wonderful book," said the teacher. "It is written by a man named Montaigne, who was a soldier, but he grew tired of being a soldier and spent his time studying and writing. He also liked to walk on country roads." The teacher lit 2 lamps. The boy had never seen 2 lamps burning in the same room. They made the room as bright as daylight. "People should read his writings," the man continued, "but few do. He is all but forgotten." But the boy did not hear. He was thinking of a cabin that had 2 lamps, both lit at the same time, and 2 stoves, one to cook on and one to warm by. The man sat in the chair between 2 tables that held the lamps. There were books on the tables, too, and there were shelves filled with not pans and dishes, but with books. The mellow eyes of the man followed the boy's puzzled glances as he studied the strange, warm world in which he had suddenly found himself. "I will read you a little story from your book." The boy watched as the fingers of the man turned the pages one way and then the other until he found what he wanted to read. This is a very short story about a king named Cyrus. He wanted to buy a prize horse that belonged to one of his soldiers. Cyrus asked him how much he would sell the horse for, or whether he would exchange him for a kingdom. The soldier said he would not sell his prize horse, and he would not exchange him for a kingdom, but that he would willingly give up the horse to gain a friend. But now I have told you the whole story, so there's no use for me to read it. You've been a powerful good friend to take me in like this, the boy said at last. My fingers don't hurt no more. I am your friend, said the man. So while I heat some water to soak your hand and make you a cot for the night, you tell me about yourself. I had a father and a dog named Sounder, the boy began.